Welcome to the Big Sky Astrology Podcast with your host, astrologer and author, April Elliott Kent.
Hello, invisible friend. April here, and the date today is July 28th, 2025. Welcome to episode 301 of the Big Sky Astrology Podcast. This week, Venus enters cozy Cancer, but the nest is disturbed by tense aspects to Saturn and Neptune. Mercury retrograde cazimi in Leo offers clarifying insights into your individual genius. The Scorpio First Quarter Moon encourages a passionate and determined move forward on those Leo new moon wishes. And I answer a listener question about the Progressed Ascendant moving into a new house of the birth chart. Venus enters Cancer on Wednesday, July 30th at 8:57 p.m. Pacific Time. Jupiter is also still in Cancer, so with both of what we call the benefic planets, Venus and Jupiter, together in this sign, pleasure and good fortune are connected with home and family. Do you enjoy the way your home looks, feels, smells? When you spend time in a place every day, it can be easy to overlook what needs to be cleaned or spruced up. This is actually a really good time to buy items for your home, to paint your house, to do practical upgrades. Just keep in mind that Mercury is retrograde if you are purchasing spendy items, and that Jupiter in Cancer could encourage you to spend a little bit more than you actually need to on these things. Entertain at home, feed the people you care about, and limit the guest list to very close friends and family members who do not stress you out. Mercury retrograde makes a conjunction with the Sun on Thursday, July 31st at 4:41 p.m. Pacific Time at 9 degrees and 0 minutes Leo. When a planet joins with the Sun in an exact conjunction within just 17 minutes of orb, it's said to be cazimi, or in the heart of the Sun. Mercury will be within that cazimi period on this date, July 31st, between 12:41 p.m. and 8:42 p.m. Pacific Time. So mark your calendar. And because being so close to the Sun supercharges a planet's energy, Mercury here will share some of the Sun's charisma and power. When Mercury is cazimi, we may experience rare flashes of mental clarity or breakthroughs in communication. And with the Sun and Mercury in Leo, this pertains to creative ideas in particular. It's a good moment to share an important message, but be thoughtful and consider your words, because they will carry the full authority of the Sun in its strongest sign. While your communication skills are at the strong peak, it might be a good time to ask a boss or mentor for feedback, or ask for a promotion or a raise, or just speak up in a situation where it would be good for you to stand out. If you'd like a deeper dive into this cazimi condition, check out the listener question on episode 259. And now it's time for the Moon Report. And as always, we begin with the week's major lunation. This week, it is the Scorpio First Quarter Moon on Friday, August 1st at 5:41 a.m. Pacific Time. That is at 9 degrees 31 minutes Scorpio. The First Quarter Moon in Scorpio is the action point in the lunar cycle that began with the Leo new moon back on July 24th. This is the moment in this lunar cycle to push forward with your intentions. But with Scorpio, that push can sometimes come with some stress or power struggles, maybe emotional turbulence. When the moon is in Scorpio, we're called to slay dragons, facing fears and releasing emotional baggage or confronting power dynamics head on. But don't let your own vulnerability cause you to lash out at others for theirs. Before unleashing that famous Scorpio sting, take a moment and ask yourself, what is really driving your reaction? Especially with Mercury retrograde and very close to the sun during this lunation, clarity could take some effort. So instead of projecting frustration outward or icing over emotionally, this is a moon that invites you to dig deep and address what is really going on. Be patient with others and gentle with yourself. Under a Scorpio moon, people often crave honesty, loyalty, and depth. They may be drawn to intensity in music, film, or moody, dramatic colors. The moon is on the Sabian symbol 10 Scorpio, a fellowship supper, and it speaks to shared emotional support and camaraderie. And the sun is on the Sabian symbol 10 Leo, early morning dew, and that points to transformation, emerging from the shadows with a fresh and invigorated sense of self. This is the first quarter in a lunar phase family cycle that began at the new moon of November 1st, 2024, at 9 degrees 35 minutes Scorpio. That new moon had the sun and moon square Pluto, so it was an enormously intense new moon, which it would have been just being in Scorpio, but add that extra layer of Pluto into it. And there was a great intensity of feeling and purpose. At the Scorpio new moon, we want to dig deep underneath the surface and find out what is really going on in our lives and what's really going on with us in particular. With Scorpio, sometimes this can be about taking, say, a relationship to a deeper level. At this first quarter moon, you're now ready to take some action in that direction. If you've spent the last 9 months or so getting to know somebody in your life a little better, this might be the time that you decide maybe to move in together or just to be exclusive to one another, even get engaged. 9 months from now, at the full moon in this cycle on May 1st, 2026, at 11 degrees 20 minutes Scorpio, that is a time when you get a fuller picture of what was initiated at that new moon. That might be a moment for making the relationship official and everybody in your life getting to see you and perceive you as a couple. Then at the last quarter moon, 9 months later, on January 29th, 2027, at 9 degrees 17 minutes Scorpio, maybe we have a wedding. So it's just a way of demonstrating to you how this particular cycle can work and how effective it is at taking the intentions or wishes of a particular new moon, something that can't be accomplished in just 29 days, and expanding it out over the entire 3-year cycle. Let's look at the void of course moon periods for this week. On Monday, July 28th, the moon in Virgo squares Venus in Gemini at 5:57 p.m. Pacific time. It's void of course for 4 hours, 46 minutes, then enters Libra at 10:43 p.m. When the moon squares another planet as it's going void of course, there is often a kind of a conflict or obstacle that we need to confront. Both the moon and Venus in this void of course moon chart are ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is still retrograde in Leo. So we could see some difficulty in expressing yourself in relationships at this void of course moon period. Experience how it feels to express your feelings in a relaxed and non-judgmental way. Art and music, for example, can be great ways to express yourself. Even just enjoying a movie at home with your partner can be a kind of a subtle form of communication. On Tuesday, July 29th, the moon in Libra squares Jupiter in Cancer at 8:59 p.m. Pacific time. It's void, of course, for 1 day, 13 hours, and 26 minutes, and enters Scorpio on Thursday, July 31st at 10:25 a.m. So here is another one of those extra long void of course periods. And it begins on the moon square to another planet. So again, here we have a conflict or obstacle to overcome. And here maybe it has something to do with the moon in Libra wanting balance, fairness, and justice. But Jupiter in Cancer can be a little bit cliquish, even tribal. And it can be a little less about balance and fairness and a lot more about who you feel close to. So at this void of course moon period, and it's a long one, try to cultivate a more accepting attitude toward others who come from a different background than you do, and also more of an understanding attitude toward even people close to you who tend to be a little bit closed off to new people and new experiences, and try to be patient and hopefully in some way try to help them get more comfortable with that idea. On Saturday, August 2nd, the moon in Scorpio sextiles Mars in Virgo at 6:07 p.m. Pacific time. It's void, of course, for 4 hours, 53 minutes, and then enters Sagittarius at 11 p.m. Scorpio and Virgo are both signs that can be very direct. And during this moon and Mars combination, we might say some things that are a little bit hurtful that we would later regret. So make a conscious effort to be honest but kind. This is also a great aspect for digging into a project that requires intense focus, or for channeling your energy into being productive and organized around the house. On Friday, August 1st, Venus squares Saturn at 6:34 a.m. Pacific time, and Venus squares Neptune at 1:49 p.m. Venus square Saturn is an important transit for getting serious about love and money. And because Venus is in Cancer, also about your home life. This is an aspect that can bring up emotional distance, or the feeling maybe that you're not getting what you need, whether that is affection, appreciation, or financial support. You might feel as though you will never have enough of something that you really value. But Saturn isn't trying to punish you. It is here to put you in the driver's seat. It's time to really take accountability and make a plan, set some boundaries, and take responsibility for creating the kind of stability that you have been craving. This could mean establishing better emotional boundaries at home. Remember, good fences make good neighbors. Maybe you're even thinking about building a literal fence or initiating a home project. Go ahead and do your research, but if you can, hold off on starting anything major until Mercury goes direct, because Mercury retrograde suggests that maybe you don't have all the information you need to make good decisions. This aspect between Venus and Saturn is also about considering what you need versus what you want. And learning to articulate those needs is one of Saturn's superpowers. Asking for help can be a powerful grown-up move. You can ask friends or family or even the universe via ritual and prayer. You might even receive a surprising boost, maybe praise from somebody you admire, or a romantic gesture that reminds you what you are worth. Shortly after, on the same day, Venus squares Neptune, and this adds a dreamy layer. Also, a little bit of a confusing one. The thing or person that you suddenly feel very drawn to might not be what they seem. A piece of art or music could leave you enchanted. But Neptune also stirs up illusions, especially around relationships or money. And with Mercury retrograde in the mix, old lovers or financial concerns might resurface so that you have to take another look. So Venus with Neptune, even though it can make us feel a little bit foggy, is also the planet that wants to heal our sense of fogginess or confusion. So by the end of this transit, you might come away with a little bit of a clearer sense of what or who is worth your time and energy and love. In this week's listener question, listener Kelly with a Y writes, "Hello to everyone's favorite invisible friend." Well, hi, Kelly. Every once in a while, I peek at my progressed chart and surprise, today I found that my progressed ascendant has moved into my second house in Aquarius. I would love to hear your thoughts on this shift. Won't we all experience the progressed ascendant move through the first few houses of our chart during our lifetime? Thank you for sharing your infinite wisdom as always. Thank you for the question, Kelly. I'm not sure that my wisdom is infinite, but I will share a few thoughts with you. We can think of the ascendant generally as the point in the chart that describes the qualities that we project in order to feel confident and safe in the world. When the progressed ascendant moves into a new house of the birth chart, it symbolizes a shift in how you're presenting yourself to the world and how you are engaging with life, according to the themes of the house that it's entering. This reflects an evolution in your identity, your priorities, and your outward expression that happens over the course of your lifetime. The progressed ascendant moves very approximately 1 degree per year. It really is dependent on the sign that it's moving through and where you're born. But if we take the approximation of 1 degree per year, it means it can cover about 30 degrees or one sign in a typical 30-year span. But as I said, that varies quite a lot. The progressed ascendant moves much more quickly in Capricorn through Gemini, and in some it moves more slowly, and that's really Cancer through Sagittarius. All of this is opposite in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, since the size of houses varies in a birth chart, depending on the house system you use, and especially if you're born at extreme latitudes, the number of houses that the progressed ascendant can move through depends quite a lot on the size of the houses in your birth chart. Here's a general idea of what I think it might mean when the progressed ascendant moves into subsequent natal houses. As the ascendant is moving through the first house after your birth, you are basically learning how to use your body and your persona to feel secure and safe in the way that feels most natural to you. I think the ascendant and the first house describe the ways that we deal with unfamiliar environments and circumstances. So by the time the progressed ascendant has finished moving through the first house, usually we've gotten to a place where we have some base level of courage and confidence in moving through our world. Then, as the progressed ascendant moves into the second house, we begin to rely more on our financial and psychological stability and mindset in order to deal with the world. So as that goes into the second house, it becomes more and more important to feel financially stable. And you'll probably do a lot of work to get that part of your life in good shape. Not just your financial worth, although that's very important, but also your sense of confidence, self-esteem, and your sense of personal worth. And this could take you down a road of eliminating debt, saving for a big financial goal, learning to live more frugally. All of these things will tend to make you feel overall stronger in yourself and better able to deal with the world. As the progressed ascendant moves into the third house, it's a time to develop good communication skills because that's what your sense of confidence will be based on with the progressed ascendant going through this house. What are the skills that you need to navigate life while the progressed ascendant is in the third? It is things like curiosity, connections in the community, the ability and willingness to learn. You tend to become more outwardly curious and engaged. After a good number of years acting from the second house to get yourself, especially financially stable, now you're entering a period of life when you want to get out and do new things, see new sights, and engage with people, both old friends and new ones. The progressed ascendant moving into the fourth house says increasingly you will derive your ability to cope with daily life from having a safe and secure nesting place. The way you engage with the world will depend on how emotionally secure you feel, especially in your home with your family. This is an ascendant that tends to be happiest at home. And if there are projects that you've been wanting to tackle, in particular in your home, this can be a very rewarding time of your life for that. Now, remember, the progressed ascendant doesn't move very quickly, so it's likely to be in the fourth house for a good long time. And it speaks of a long period of time of cultivating stronger and more satisfying family situations. And perhaps, depending on the size of the houses in your chart and how long you live, you might see the progressed ascendant move into the fifth house, which means that you will be most comfortable in projecting yourself out into the world to the extent that you are able to express yourself, your true self, and have some sources of great pleasure and entertainment and play in your life. This can be a very creative house, and you could be one of these people that a bit later in life starts to explore that part of yourself more. You might find yourself becoming more outwardly expressive and fun and dramatic. The ascendant moving into a new house of the birth chart is kind of like starting your first semester as the new kid in school, and you're trying to figure out how and who to be. You get to try out a whole new identity in this new environment. If your progressed ascendant has been in its current sign for a while, it's generally a little bit easier because you have come up with some coping techniques that are unique to that sign. But that sign's qualities will generally have to be adjusted a bit to the new house environment as well. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for your question, and good luck in your new school. If you have a question you'd like me to answer on a future episode, leave a message of 1 minute or less at speakpipe.com/Big Sky Astrology Podcast, or send an email to april@bigskyastrology.com And be sure to put podcast question in the subject line. Well, that is everything I have on my show sheet, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you for listening to the Big Sky Astrology Podcast. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe or follow the show in your app of choice. Leave a rating or review, and I hope you'll spread the word by telling an astrology-loving friend about the podcast. You can read show notes and full transcripts and leave your comments about each episode at bigskyastropod.com. Thank you very much to everyone who has shown support for the podcast over the years, particularly during last September's Podathon. On each episode, I'm thanking some of my financial donors by name. This week, let's give a Big Sky Astrology Podcast shout-out to monthly pod pals Marcy Earl and Judy Zimmerman. Judy and Marcy, thank you so much for listening to the podcast and for supporting the show with your donations. If you would like to support the show and receive access to my bonus video episodes for donors only, please go to bigskyastropod.com and make a contribution of $10 or more. You can make a one-time donation in any amount or become an ongoing monthly contributor. And heads up, we have our 6th annual Podathon coming up on Labor Day week. It'll be here before we know it. And I have some very exciting guests and topics to share with you this year. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Join me again bright and early next Monday. And until then, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about April Elliott Kent, visit her website, bigskyAstrology.com, where you can sign up for her newsletter, read her thoughtful essays, find out more about her books and classes, or book a personal astrology reading. That's all for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to follow or subscribe to stay current with new episodes. And please leave a rating or review. You can follow Big Sky Astrology on Facebook or Twitter and Big Sky Astrology April on Instagram. Thanks again for being here, and we hope you'll join us next time.